Hi YouTube, I wanted to continue with my vinyl collection series and I want to move forward. Last time I covered punk and post-punk and some ska in there as well, and this time around I wanted to cover sort of my hardcore and sort of English anarcho and some of the more street level punk stuff that I have in my collection. So we'll get started here quickly with the Subhumans. This is the British band, not the Vancouver band. And this was released in 2004 on Fat Records. This is a live double album set. This comes with 2 LPs, as you can see here, and 25 songs altogether. And pretty good recording quality. This was actually given to me as a gift by my parents, of all people, who are not punk rockers. But they knew that I was kind of into it, and they were at a record shop while they were vacationing somewhere, and they asked the clerk what punk rock record they should buy for their 17, 18-year-old son, however old I was. And this is what they ended up getting for me, which is pretty cool. I've taken a listen to it, although it has been a while, but as I recall, the recording quality is pretty good for a live record, and a lot of energy, and you know, the Subhumans are sort of a legendary British anarcho-punk band for a reason. And yeah, a couple cool things about this, besides the fact that it's a 2-album set. It also comes with this complimentary comic book. You have your liner notes here on the back, which is pretty cool. And then inside, you have this crazy sort of punk rock comic book art, which is pretty neat. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. We have a compilation album by The Fix. This is a Michigan-based hardcore band released on Touch and Go Records, and this is a compilation of all of their singles. They have the first couple songs here is from the Vengeance 7-inch, and then the next looks like 4 songs is the John's Room 7-inch, and then a live tape on side 2. And this was released by Touch and Go, I think, more recently. So we have the barcode down here and a website being advertised. So obviously not a pressing from the 80s, not when these original 7 inches came out. But this is actually a pretty cool collection of sort of Midwest hardcore on the premium hardcore label in the U.S. in the Midwest, Touch and Go, which for a while was running, I think, up until maybe a little less than 10 years ago. Then they had to discontinue, which was sad to see, because they were one of the cooler labels, indie labels, that were still going. Southern California band, famous Southern California hardcore band out of Orange County. We have the TSOL 12-inch EP. This comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs. 3 songs on side 1, 2 on side 2. And TSOL, I think they're kind of well known, definitely within the Orange County, LA area, for being kind of one of the early hardcore bands from that time, you know, sort of contemporaries of bands like Black Flag and the Circle Jerks. But they were a little bit, you know, they were hard and they were fast, and they fit the whole hardcore motif pretty well. But they presented a little gothy. They, you know, Jack Grisham, the lead singer, used to put on like white makeup and had kind of an Iggy Pop sort of shirtless thing going on, and like a, you know, sort of a different sort of haircut than the usual buzzed head kind of thuggish hardcore look. You know, they weren't afraid to be a little theatrical, but definitely the music is still, you know, fast beat per minute kind of aggressive punk rock style here, at least at this point. Later on, I think they kind of went a little bit metal into the 80s, but this is a great little slab of early 80s Orange County hardcore. I think this is the only I know this is the only Black Flag record I own, and this is the first 4 years LP released on SST. And this is another compilation of Black Flag's singles and EPs that were released pre-Rollins. So basically everything up to Damaged, which was the first album that Rollins played on. So we have the Nervous Breakdown stuff, as well as the Jealous Again stuff, a six-pack single. So we have, the Ron Reyes era, the Des Candina era, and the Keith Morris era, and this is pretty cool, and it's a great way to have all of those singles, all of that stuff in one sitting. Of course, if I were to find those singles, and they were not just pressed 2 years ago, I might be interested in buying them as well. But this is a great way to have this kind of pre-Rollins stuff, and some people actually prefer it to Damaged and My War and all of the later Black Flag stuff, and I might be one of those people. Speaking of Keith Morris, here is Group Sex by the Circle Jerks. This is the first album that Keith Morris did outside of Black Flag, and this was released on Frontier. Here's the back of the album. I'm trying to show back of the albums a little bit more, and we have some cool. I'll show it here because I thought it was noteworthy, but we have some cool liner notes, including a picture of the band when they were really young, Keith Morris, before he had the crazy dreadlocks. And back here, I thought this was kind of funny. We have a how to slam dance or how to skank or whatever this little punk rock cartoon down here is doing. I'll kind of show that. That's pretty expressive. That's pretty fun. And this would have been released. Let me see if I can get it. Would have been released in 1980. Okay. Here is one of my favorites. I don't have a lot of 10 inches in my collection. They're kind of hard to come by, and some of them aren't really worth your money. But this I snagged as soon as I saw it. This is Husker Dus Metal Circus 10-inch, and I think this has been re-released as a 12-inch somewhat recently, but this is an earlier pressing. This came out in 1983. I think this pressing might be like a 92 or a 1990. Comes on blue vinyl, blue marble vinyl. So I can show here. Pretty cool. And this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tracks on here. This is a kind of, I would say, a very interesting point in Husker Dus' career, because the next release would be Zen Arcade, which would be sort of a turning point musically for them into going more into a sort of a jangly college rock thing out of hardcore. This is still somewhere in between. And has one of my favorite Husker Du songs, a Grant Hart song called Diane, sort of a slower-paced, melodic, sort of indie murder ballad, and has a really cool cover too with the reversed Husker Du and the window decal. Minneapolis bass band, released on SST. I have a couple more Husker Du albums here. I have Zen Arcade. I'd been looking for this for a really long time in a earlier pressing, and I kind of happened upon a record store down in downtown Santa Monica while I was waiting for a movie to start or something like that. It was kind of hole-in-the-wall record shop. They had a bunch of stuff. I think they had like the Replacement's entire catalog. They had this. They had like an early pressing of Joy Division, and I had to to decide which one I was going to get, I ended up getting this for $24, which isn't too bad. Also released on SST, and this is a double album as well, and a gatefold. There's a little bit of wear on the sleeve. Here in the corner, you can see it's kind of bent, and then it was, for some reason, clipped off here. But this is such an important album, both in their career and the the history of punk rock in general, and hardcore and indie rock. This definitely sort of bridges the two genres of indie rock and hardcore and college rock. Released in, I believe, 85, 84. And Husker Dus was one of those bands that really kind of, still has a relevance today, where a lot of that 80s hardcore stuff maybe doesn't anymore. These guys still, their influence is still reverberating through popular music. Just ask Dave Grohl about it. And here we have their follow-up record to what a lot of people were calling the greatest hardcore record of all time. And how do you follow that up? You follow it up with New Day Rising. Bought this from Vinyl Solutions in Huntington Beach. One of my favorite record stores to get punk. One of the only record stores to get original or early pressings of punk. Somehow I ended up getting this for $7. I'm not sure how that happened, but it's a pretty good condition. I might actually personally prefer this to Zen Arcade. Zen Arcade's a great album, but 2 albums worth of hardcore goes a long way. And I think this is a little more condensed, a little more focused, and they were sort of able to find that balance, that medium before Fast and Furious and melodic. And the song New Day Rising is just epic punk rock songwriting. And a great album cover as well. Big Husker Du fan, as you can tell. And the last record of theirs that I own was the last record they released on SST before they signed to a major label. And that is Flip Your Wig, which I also bought from Vinyl Solutions. And this is in very good condition. This was released in '85, so the same year that New Day Rising came out. And this definitely goes in a much more melodic, sort of indie rock direction, even more so than New Day Rising and Zen Arcade. By this point, they were really kind of shedding the hardcore stuff and playing in a much more kind of cleaner, janglier, sort of Replacements-ish sort of style. This is really good as well. I mean, if you're a fan of college rock or you're a fan of punk rock, this is, I think, just as good as anything by them, maybe for a different reason. Then we'll get into some Dischord stuff. I'm a huge Dischord record fan. I try and pick up as much stuff from them as I see when I'm out there. And this is a great record. This came out in 1986 on Dischord. This is Dagnasti's Can I Say? There you go. So we have the purple figure. I know there's another pressing of this where he's green instead of purple. We have Dagnasti here in the corner. This is a hardcore band that kind of came out in the middle of the 80s out of Dischord, and we have Dave Smalley on vocals, although this band went through several vocalists, and I think this might be the only record where he sang on it. Brian Baker from Minor Threat is on the bass here. And this is kind of heading in towards the Rites of Spring era. This is a little bit more kind of straightforward hardcore than Rites of Spring, where bands like Grey Matter, but it's heading in that direction. The lyrics are getting a little bit more personal, a little less intense political kind of stuff, a little bit more melodic. But this still kind of has like a gruff hardcore sound to it, but it's heading sort of in that post-hardcore kind of style. But this is a great Dischord album. Kind of a definitive one for some people. And maybe the most definitive Dischord album would be their first compilation Flex Your Head. This is definitely a later pressing. I want to say this was probably early 2000s, late 90s pressing of this album. It's been pressed, you know, many times with lots of different alternate covers. There's a cover where it's, I think the first one was like, it's like a broken violin, and then there's another one where it's just like wheat, and then there's another one where it's just like clouds. But the track listing doesn't change, and this is an early compilation. This is like right at the beginning of DC hardcore, beginning of Discord Records. So we have a couple songs from the Teen Idols, the Untouchables, State of Alert, which was the band that Henry Rollins was in before he moved to LA to join Black Flag. We have Minor Threat, Government Issue, Youth Brigade. On side 2 we have Red Cross, Void, Iron Cross, Artificial Peace, and Deadline. And you can see all of that there. And the big Discord like poster here. Great stuff. This is another hardcore comp that I found in, I want to say, Pepperland Music. They had a couple copies of it. This is the same time that I picked up the X Los Angeles album and the Husker Dus 10-inch. This was a big pickup day for me on punk rock, and this is a crazy sort of compilation of a lot of different hardcore bands from a lot of different areas. This isn't a regionally specific comp like Check Your Head or Flex Your Head. It's called Life is Ugly, So Why Not Kill Yourself on New Underground Records, and I believe this would have been released in '81. All the tracks are produced by, it says here, all the tracks are produced by Spot. Spot was the producer who often worked on the Black Flag stuff. But we have here Red Cross, The Descendants, Anti, Ill Will, Civil Dismay, China White, and on side 2 we have Mood of Defiance, The Minutemen, 100 Flowers, Urinals, Zurich 1916, The Plebs, and Saccharine Trust here. So really good sampling of American hardcore at this period of time. If you can find this, I'm not quite sure how rare this is. Like I said, at the record store, for whatever reason, they had 2 copies of it, and I picked up one of them. This is a pretty cool find. Okay, and finishing off my American hardcore stuff, I have another comp that I bought from Amoeba Records called Hardcore Breakout USA. And I believe there was more than one of these. This was like a series they did around this time. And this was released on New Red Archives. And this would have been in like the late 80s. I want to say this would have been like 1989, maybe even 1990. And the reason I picked it up is because, I mean, it has a few bands that I know of. Like it had UK Subs, has Sam I Am, and Jawbreaker, and that was the reason I picked it up. But we also we have Ultraman, Bedlam Hour, Crucial Youth, Hogan's Heroes, Kraut, Gee Whiz, Dirge, and the Agitators. And this actually comes with a second album, like a free givey. If you bought this, it sort of came with another sampler. So we have this, which is the album that you paid for, but then it also comes with this, and a lot of the same stuff. Yeah. A lot of the same bands, just different songs. But that's pretty cool. And this was really cheap. This was only $10. The jacket could be in better condition. but it's not too bad. Yeah, other than, again, so they clip off the corner here. I'm not sure why some places did that. Probably specifically to devalue it. Kind of like when you work at a bookstore and they have to tear the covers off before they send back old books. Might be that sort of situation. It's kind of cool. It shows you here where every band is from on the map. And yeah, I bought this specifically for Sam I Am and Jawbreaker, two sort of Bay Area post-hardcore bands that I'm into. But it's cool, you know, UK subs, and this is sort of an interesting era for hardcore, specifically because the genre itself was kind of coming to an end by the time you get to the late 80s and early 90s. It's right before the sort of SoCal pop-punk, Bay Area pop-punk sound kind of took over everything, and you know, indie rock and alternative rock kind of swallowed up all the air around the indie labels. So hardcore was kind of, you know, coming to an end, American hardcore. But this is a cool little document of that era. And that's what I got in my collection for this episode. Next episode I'm going to go a little deeper into post-hardcore and a little bit more Discord stuff that I own. So look forward to that. Thanks for watching.